Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 78 of today's News Tonight, the weeknight news show where we're joined by special guests and our lovely patrons to discuss the day's gaming news. I'm your host for today, Ash Paulson, and I'm joined as always by my great friends and GVG co-founders Derrick Bittner and Steve Bowling. And I know I did just say that bit about special guests, but today we're going old school. We're rocking it old school today. No guests, just the three of us. Just figured we'd have a nice old school end to the week.
It's been a week. I think all of us have been like just a little tired today. I think it's the best way to put it. Steve and I was working to get NieR Replicant done. That review, Steve, you had both the Judgment review and TNT to edit. So that was a hell of a night.
That was a long night.
Yeah, I'm working on various things. I'm still cracking it. I finished Balan. I'm just trying to find time to finish, actually, Steve, to sit down finish writing and editing and doing that review. But I'm also working with Steve on another review we've got coming up, kind of a pair of reviews that we can't talk about yet. And then, of course, just, TNT back into work 3 times a week, trying to get What's That Track going. There just seems like the pile of work never gets shorter, does it? It never does.
No, it doesn't. But I am very glad this is a good problem to have. Having a stack of embargoed reviews to do for a channel as young as us is a very good problem.
Yes.
And
definitely.
You guys asked for it. We told you that we would try to make team reviews or team previews happen as opportunities become available. And one such opportunity crossed our path last week. So Ash and I will be bringing a GVG's first duo review, I guess. So
which coming up. Duo, not just a duo review, duo preview as well. We're kind of doing it both in a way.
Yes.
And Adam Davis says, "What is that? A public confirmation? What's that track?" I mean, it's always been confirmed that I'm bringing it back. It's just a matter of being able to sit down and actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a matter of having time to do all this stuff and effectuate all these plans we have, but we're cracking away at it, and we're getting the work done.
Yeah.
And in the meanwhile, I'm already working on the next the kind of the final video on the PSN saga that I've been doing, because I did PS1, I did PS2. It's like, oh hey, they brought it back. Well, PSP store is still closing, so let me get that. Although I don't. Fun fact, I think I lost my charger for my Vita.
Me too.
And I don't know if I can find my charger for my PSP as well. So I have to go through the PSTV, and I don't know if that PSN is different. But I went through and found all the PSP games on there, and turns out they have a ton of PS1 games that were listed in the Vita store, PSTV store, I guess, that are not on the PSN unless I guess you search for them. So that's kind of a fourth video I ended up having to do, because
what a pain.
I mean, there's something to keep in mind here. I completely forgot about this, Ash, but there is Mega Man 1 through 4 on PS1, like PS1 versions.
Yeah, it's the Complete Works versions, the Rockman Complete Works versions, yeah.
Yes, so they're on there. There's a lot of Japanese stuff. Okay, Rockman.EXE does confirm that Vita store is different. I'm doing the best I can, with the resources I have.
Let me see if I can't dig up my PSP charger. I'm enough of a pack rat that I might have it in my garage.
I might have it too. It's just like it's in the closet somewhere. It's like, do I want to go through all this? Because
I think I do have my PS Vita. Maybe not PSP chargers, but I think I still have my PS Vita charger. I think
I'm fairly confident I have mine, because I have a weird.
If you guys could just get me a list, I could do the rest.
Real quick before we go too far. I know we have a sponsor to talk about.
Yes,
but before we even go there, Andy Day in the chat mentions that he unfortunately tested positive for COVID today. And he's asking for good vibes. Andy, I am so sorry. That is terrible. So I hope that you do not have a rough go of it. I hope you feel better soon. Obviously, stay safe.
Absolutely.
Watch TNT. We'll be here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday to help you through it, and you don't need to see other people for it. So thanks for hanging in the audience, man. I can't even imagine. But,
we take care of yourself. Obviously, put yourself first, and just be safe, man. And we hope you feel better soon. And you have the easiest COVID experience possible. Such that
just
it is.
Tons of water. Rest up. Don't push yourself. Just take it easy.
Oh, Andy does say, thanks, guys. Yeah, I don't have any of the bad symptoms, luckily. Okay,
that's good.
Super glad to hear that. We hope it stays that way. That's awesome. As Steve said, we do have a sponsor to talk about, and that, of course, is Straight-Lace and their Steam game, The Soul Device. And The Soul Device is a puzzle platform built on the concept of making your own platforms to solve puzzles and explore the environment, consuming the player's hit points in the process. There are many rooms to explore and several abilities for the player to unlock, and as of today, as of a little while ago, The Soul Device is free to play on Steam for anyone who wants to check it out, so we highly recommend that you do that. However, Straight-Lace does have something additional to talk about for today, and that is that on Saturday, May 1st at 2 p.m., Straight-Lace will be hosting a charity live stream on his YouTube channel to support the charity Simple Needs Georgia. During this stream, Straight-Lace will be rapidly developing a game from scratch, but the game he develops will be decided on by the viewers. The game's genre, gameplay, characters, goals, and more will all be determined by chat either during the stream or in polls prior on Straight-Lace's community page. Milestone rewards include cameos from Straight-Lace's cats and sister, a dog reveal, holy crap, the creation of custom music for the game, and if the community manages to raise as much money as Straight-Lace dumped into gacha games, Straight-Lace will return to making content for the game Dragalia Lost. This stream requires participation to work, though, so Straight-Lace hopes to see you on May 1st. So,
and in the chat, he does say that is at 2 p.m. Eastern.
I was going to ask that. Okay, so 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're free on Saturday, May 1st, this is a great cause, and it sounds like a lot of fun. So everybody listening, we encourage you to go check out Straight-Lace's stream on May 1st. With that said, though, we were kind of planning on a fairly easy-breezy Friday, and it's still going to be that, but there is a surprising amount of news to get through today. So let's go ahead and get that first story up on screen, and we're going to start heavy and then kind of coast through the rest. We're going to start with the heaviest news story. And this was posted in our server by Eddie Zacianland, and that is that NieR Replicant, just released yesterday, I believe, has what seemed... Today, my bad. What seems to be a kind of unfortunately transphobic trophy/achievement called Daredevil, wherein the player intentionally has to look at the character Kaine's genitals several times, quote-unquote, risking life and limb to discover someone's secret. However, Kaine, of course, is an intersex character, so at worst, this is an example of really bad wording and ignorance. At best, it's ignorant and really badly worded. At worst, it's viciously transphobic. But Derrick, you just finished reviewing this game for us, so I'm going to throw this to you, and I want to get how you're feeling about this.
See, I always thought they treated Kaine very well in this game. Yoko Taro has always seemed to be kind of on the up and up when it comes to this sort of thing.
It does seem that way.
Because here's the thing. Emil, the other character in the game, is canonically gay. Like, this is not one of those things like, he's, phobic and all that stuff. At least it doesn't appear that way. I don't want to make broad statements.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that I wanted to see her reaction just to see if it was in there. And I booted up the game, tried to tilt the camera, and I'm tilting the camera all around her to try to see, to get this sort of like, how is she reacting to this? I want to get the context. She didn't react at all. And I never got the trophy or anything like that. It was my assumption that she'll react 10 times, then you get the trophy. Maybe you have to look 10 times. I don't know. But I tried to activate it just to see, like, how does she react to this? Because the game never outright states her being intersex. It's just sort of a thing that's sort of in there that you can see and was kind of confirmed by Yoko Taro, but not really anything like that. It's just more more layers on why she's sort of been kind of pushed away by villagers and whatnot and all that. And I don't know if it was like who approved this trophy. It's just, or one of those things like, it's because we could do this in Automata. It's a fun little thing. It's, you got the,
was this not a trophy in the original? I've not played the original.
It doesn't seem, I don't think so. It doesn't seem to be because everybody's reacting to it now.
Well, the original is also a PS2 game.
No, the original is a PS3 game. I have it right here.
Oh, it's a PS3? Oh, I got my generation. NieR generations.
You're thinking Drakengard 1 too.
Drakengard. Oh, yeah, I see it right there. Now it also is important to note that Audoodle in the chat mentions that there is a trophy in NieR Automata that's kind of similar, where you have to maneuver the camera to try to look under 2B's skirt. So, obviously Yoko Taro's horny. This is nothing new. He's always been horny, and he includes horniness in his games. I think it's more the wording behind the achievement in terms of, risking life and limb to figure out Kaine's secret. Now, I have seen there's been a lot of discussion about this on our server, going both ways. Obviously, everyone agrees it's egregious and really not good the way this all came down. But Kaine herself is a very aggressive character. Correct me if I'm wrong, Derrick, but she's
she's like a sailor. It's wonderful.
Right. So the wording "risking life and limb" could be referring to Kaine's character.
She would absolutely kick your ass. Like when you first meet her, the way she helps NieR dodge an attack is kicking him in the face.
Wow.
Okay, well, there you go. So this may, the wording of that achievement, unfortunate it is, may be referencing Kaine as a character and not, oh my God, you're risking your eyes to see, the secret, the genitals of this intersex character. That it reads that way, but it may not be that way. But it also might be that way. It's hard to say. But as you said, Derrick, Yoko Taro doesn't really have he has a history of horniness, but not a history of transphobia or homophobia or really any anti-LGBTQ plus content, as far as I know, at least.
He's kind of on the up and up. Oh, XQ Jonas says, I think she kills you when you get the trophy.
Oh, well, okay.
That explains
fair enough.
The thing for me is, I don't know that it's necessarily, and I can't speak for the transgender community. I would much rather a transgender person tell me how they feel.
I wish we had
somebody
trans or intersex on the panel. It would be
I think that's
revealing because obviously not intersex, so I can't really speak to that.
See, I think a lot about when I think about this, I think about like traditional anime tropes of pervy people trying to look at girls' panties, because unfortunately that is a traditional anime trope. And whether you agree with it or not, it's something that is pervasive in Japanese culture, like certain types of media. And usually the type of character that would try to get a panty shot gets the ever-loving shit kicked out of them by someone.
Right.
Which I think is okay. I find that to be funny. Like when Master Roshi tries to look at Bulma's panties and she ends up whooping his ass, I think that's funny. I don't get offended by that. I don't find it offensive. And I think if you do have like a panty-related trophy, I guess if you get killed at the end, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would probably find humor in that as well. Like I would think, I mean, if I was, because let's face it, there's definitely people out there that don't know this trophy exists that are definitely trying to look at Kaine's panties, right?
And then it pops up and they die, which would be kind of funny.
Like you get the achievement and then Kaine kills you. I would love to see the genuine reaction of someone that didn't know that was coming. I would find that really humorous.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think I do think that, I don't have the full context on how it's presented, so I don't want to really provide an opinion one way or the other. I can just say if it's in the context that I believe it to be, I could find some humor in it, but like as almost a punishment for being a peeping Tom. But that's not what it is, and it's very possible that isn't what it is because I've not played NieR. Then there's definitely there's potential for this to be a problematic thing. I just don't want to go out on a limb and say it is or it isn't without having seen it myself.
Odddoodles in the chat says, I'm here, I'm trans, and I don't know what to feel. And I think that's totally legit because you can see why, you can see why not. It's just, it's hard to really say. And Evernight says 2B would bat the camera away when you try to peek up a skirt. It's like a bad running gag now with this context. And I looked up the trophy list and it is not in the original, but it isn't. They do have it.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I Googled it. I was going to bring that up, but
because I'm like, I don't remember that in this NieR.
And I believe that there was an interview, I'm going to just be quoting him offhand, but I believe there was an interview with Yoko Taro a few years ago who said, or where he said that something along the lines of it's important for him to include intersex and gay characters and other minority characters in NieR because these people exist in real life, obviously, and that they should, be represented in his games as well. And so that's why I feel like maybe this was an unfortunate, really bad localization.
It was developed by
text or
I don't know, Toy Logic's. It was developed by them. That the remaster was handled by them. So it's I don't know how that all breaks down. So it might have been their idea because it's like cute reference to NieR Automata, do that sort of thing. It's really hard to say, but the thing is, outside of this trophy, Kaine is treated with kind of, I wouldn't say respect because Grimoire Weiss is constantly calling Kane a hussy because of the way she's dressed. But it's played for laughs because Kane will just respond, "Fuck off, book." Like, she does not take anybody's crap. So I don't know. It's one of those weird things where she is she's a wonderful character. She's my favorite character in the game. But
yeah,
nice.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think unfortunately this trophy is ignorant at best, and the wording should probably be changed if it shouldn't just be outright removed.
Yeah, I think it should just be removed completely.
Yeah, and to be clear, all three of us up here on the panel, we support the LGBTQ plus community, intersex community, but we're not part of it. So this isn't for any of us to decide. We're not going to say this is how people should feel about this, because that's not for us to decide at all. We're just talking about it. We're reporting the news as it is, and certainly we're delivering our thoughts on it. But you absolutely have to draw your own conclusions on how this makes you feel. Personally, I do feel as though this is just really unfortunately ignorant, dangerous wording, and that the intent from the ground from the ground up was not to include a transphobic, intersex-phobic achievement in the game. I don't believe that was the intent, but I do believe that's how it comes off due to the unfortunate wording and just kind of the wider context.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, well, we said that we were starting off with the heaviest news of the day. So it's all we're all it's lighter stuff from here on out. So let's go ahead and move on to this next news story, which Steve, I know, is basically going to jump out of his seat about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this was posted in our server by Coop's Crib, and that is that Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis launches in June worldwide. Obviously, I don't know a whole lot about Phantasy Star Online. I played a little bit of it back in the day on GameCube, but Steve, you're like the biggest PSO fan I know, man. So I'm throwing this directly to you. How are you feeling about this?
I am so damn hyped for this. Like, to give you context, one, a PSO game has never had a simultaneous release worldwide. Ever. Ooh. So Dreamcast had, I want to say, a 6-month lead. Phantasy Star Universe had several months. I played the Japanese version for, I want to say, a year or more before it came out in America. PSO2, the one that we're all talking about, the prequel to this, had an 8-year lead. So,
oh my God.
Sega hasn't done so great with getting these out the door on par with each other. And because of that, what we end up seeing is a complete lack of feature parity, right? So when events happen, when other stuff happens in the game, America maybe gets it, most of the time doesn't. That includes a lot of rare weapons and items. There's just a lot of stuff that never makes its way west, even if the game itself does. So this gives me hope. I will say the only thing that kind of drags me down about this is that I wish we would go back to the days of having one global community. Because the original PSO, even though it came out later in the US, you just got dumped in with the Japanese players. And so you could go to Japanese lobbies and meet up with people, and they would help, drag you through or give you... It was cool kind of to have this built-in community of pros that were able to help all these new people out. But I would love it if I could just say, oh, hey, I want to play on the Japanese side where the players are a little more serious, a little more hardcore, maybe not spamming emotes in the lobby all the time. And then, but still play with all my American friends who don't speak Japanese, who don't understand the language, without having to have 2 accounts on 2 different servers. But I'm going to be playing on the American side this time, not only because... Sega has shown interest in partnering with GVG for some PSO2 NGS content later on, but also just because I want to be able to extol the virtues of this game and not tell my friend, okay, well, sign into the Japanese player site, download an English patch, install that on your PC, and then several hours later we'll be good to go. I prefer to just say, hey, if you have an Xbox, fire it up, or go to the Microsoft store if you have a PC and download it there and just hit the ground running. So I'm very excited for this. This is great news. I mentioned I'll be streaming the beta in mid-May. So sounds like a couple weeks after that, we'll be playing the full release, which is fantastic. I did not expect this, especially from Sega.
So as somebody who hasn't really looked into the Phantasy Star Online stuff in a long time, like I remember renting the GameCube version and just sort of playing it single player and not fully understanding it. is New Genesis like an expansion or is it a brand new game? Like what is it?
So it's weird. I haven't, for the record, I haven't played any New Genesis, even like under embargo or anything. But it seems to me as a fan as though it's like a sequel, but Sega is positioning it differently so as not to fracture their user base. Because you can log in, you have one Sega account, and it'll take you to either PSO2 or New Genesis, and you literally choose that in the menu of the game. So they're not separate games, like in terms of what you execute on your Xbox or your PC or whatever. You start up PSO2, and then you choose from there whether you're going to play New Genesis or the original. But New Genesis takes place 1,000 years after PSO2, uses a completely different graphics engine. Battle mechanics are 100% different. It seems to focus less on like instanced, I hate saying that word, missions, and more on like having a big open world that players kind of travel around and fight challenges in. There's like a hub city. So it seems to me as though it's a sequel, but they're trying very hard to not market it as such.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was actually wondering the same thing. I know so little about the actual brand itself and what sets every version of PSO2 apart from the others. So it's good to know, to have that context, Steve. Thank you for that. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, this, of course, June. There's already a lot else coming out in June, not the least of which is FF7 Remake Intergrade. So we don't know exactly when in June this is dropping yet. I don't know how this is going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, considering I'm already playing one MMO, I can't jump into a second. So
right.
Sorry, I'll have to stick with fantasy rather than sci-fi.
That is A-okay.
It is worth noting that even though this is the first ever simultaneous global release for a PSO game, there is still a Japanese exclusive component to this, and that is that on August 19th, there's going to be a Japanese exclusive starter package, which includes a mini soundtrack and 9 special in-game items. I don't need to go through all of them, but yeah, so there is, it would be cool if we were getting that as well to make it a truly full, worldwide release, but at least the game itself is being released simultaneously in every territory, and that is what matters.
Well, It's interesting here because it's apparently Xbox One and PC via Steam in the Epic Game Store and the Microsoft Store in the West, but in Japan, it's coming out on PS4, PC, and a cloud version on the Switch. So I guess play to your market.
Yeah.
Although it feels like I'm pretty sure Microsoft paid for this. So absolutely. It does seem like odd that it's not going to be on PS4.
Well, so I don't know the particulars of the deal because Sega will not tell me, no matter how many times I've tried. And I know a bunch of reporters who have tried to get the scoop on what the hell happened to PSO2 because if you don't remember, and most people don't, Sega came to PAX West, I want to say 2013, with an English build of PSO2. And then they were like, it's coming out this summer. And then 8 years went by. And so everyone was like, what the fuck happened? And then they announced, at E3, the last E3 we were all together at, and I started screaming at the Xbox conference when it showed up, that PSO2 would be coming to the West, but on Microsoft's back-end server infrastructure. Like, they made a very weird point of telling us, like, it's on Microsoft Azure, and I'm like, no one cares about that. Literally nobody.
What even is Microsoft Azure?
Right?
Yeah.
I work in IT, so I know what Microsoft Azure is, but it's not like, I'm not like, oh yeah, like, this is what people need to know. No one cares. But it tells me that Microsoft probably, like, had a sidebar with Sega at some point, and they're like, look, people want PSO2. You guys clearly don't know what the hell you're doing with servers. So we'll give you the servers if you give us the exclusive or something to that effect. Like, we'll run the game.
It's not a bad idea, considering I don't believe Final Fantasy XIV is on the Xbox. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think you're right.
You have 14 for Sony users, and you have PSO for Xbox users. Kind of smart, and PC for both, obviously, but
yeah, it's real interesting to see how this is playing out in the West. I mean, in Japan, PSO2 is extremely popular, and so it's on most platforms. Ironically, not Xbox, but the thing that I'm going to miss the most, if you had played the Japanese cloud version of PSO2 when it came out on the Switch, which I did, just because I thought it was an interesting thing, they gave you Breath of the Wild items. So you can play PSO2 dressed as like Breath of the Wild Link. You have the Master Sword as a weapon. I'm like, this is dope. I really like this. And of course, I won't be able to bring those over to the Western release, but it's worth it for the convenience. I'll take it.
Skullkid Tiger in the chat asks, wait, what are the platforms? And the answer to that is, in the West at least, it's going to be on Xbox One and PC via Steam, the Epic Game Store, and Microsoft Store. And then in Japan only, it'll be available for PS4, PC, and Switch via a cloud version, specifically for Switch. So the short answer to that is, if you're in the West, Xbox One and PC.
Holy crap. Arkwing says PSO2 is on the Vita in Japan, a full version, not a cloud.
Right.
No joke.
I remember that.
Hold on.
Oh, boy. Steve's about to show off some nerd cred, I think.
Uh-oh, here we go. Nice.
I'm taking a gamble here. Let's see. Okay, so the other day when we were talking about the revival or the stay of execution for the Vita store, I showed off my Vita.
Mm-hmm.
Inside my Vita, I'm going to bet. I'm betting, okay? I don't know.
Oh,
there might be nothing. But inside my Vita, if I can open this card flap...
Sounds inappropriate. Inside my Vita, I have.
Oh, come on. Focus, you damn camera. That is Phantasy Star Online 2, I swear. You can't really see
Nice.
It,
nice.
I'll take your word for it.
It
has a lot of blue.
Yeah, there's a lot of blue. It looks like a new PSO.
Yeah.
Joseph Retkin, Microsoft holding this hostage. I think it's sort of like, not in this way that you're thinking. I think it's wouldn't exist without Microsoft, in the same way that Bayonetta 2 wouldn't have existed without Nintendo.
Yeah, I think this was more of a Sega took their lumps and got a lot of bad press in the West for PSO2, and Microsoft basically said, "Hey, if you're still interested, we'll bring it over." And Danilo Almini used the makeup tutorial technique. I'm sad that I know exactly what you're talking about. Let me see if the makeup tutorial technique works. So one thing that I told my co-founders, and thanks to your generosity, I was able to purchase a new lens for my camera, which I've been sitting on for a while, but I finally got it set up today. Let's see if the makeup lens or the makeup tutorial method works. So you hold something up and you use your hand as like a... It does work.
Oh my gosh.
Nice. Oh, it does.
That's funny.
My lily white hands help my camera to focus.
Well, there you go.
So yeah,
nice.
Now I know. Thank you for the suggestion.
By the way, I'm looking at this box art and seeing the sword and all that. Like, this just makes me think of a Xenoblade Chronicles X MMO.
Oh, it totally looks like Xenoblade Chronicles.
It does.
And the thing is, like, I think that they stole some inspiration from Xenoblade for New Genesis, because if you see the game in motion, it looks like what a Xenoblade MMO would likely look like.
I mean, the gameplay of Final Fantasy XIV is very Xenoblade-esque, so I think Xenoblade's been really influential for MMO and Japanese MMOs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would seem so. But yeah, I thought the same thing when I was making the thumb for today's episode. I wanted to get PSO2 in there, and I'm like, oh, this kind of does remind me of Xenoblade X. Steve, speaking of suggestions, Azran, our resident pun master, says you should show off your card flap more often. And with that...
That's post-show territory, my friend.
Right. So I think that's a perfect segue into our next news story, which is some good news. We have some good news here. So let's go ahead and get that up on screen. And this was posted in our server by Mubar. And this is kind of a continuation to a story we reported on previously. Back before Sony reversed their decision to close down the PS3 and PS Vita PlayStation stores, we also reported on how that while all this was going on, PS3 game patches were slowly disappearing and making it impossible for certain PS3 games to get updated in various territories, which just pissed off people even more. Now we're happy to report that PS3 game patches seem to be slowly returning, including those for some high-profile titles like Tekken Tag Tournament 2. And I'm going through the list here on psnprofiles.com. And it seems like Sony has returned quite a few patches to working order, such as 007 Legends, Battlefield 4, Dante's Inferno, Gran Turismo 5, Jet Set Radio HD, Mortal Kombat. So quite a few patches have been restored. However, not all of them. We're still missing some sports patches, NBA 2K17, Naughty Bear, Panic in Paradise. I forgot about Naughty Bear. Ratchet and Clank All for One is still missing, Resident Evil Revelations. So not everything's been restored yet, but it does seem as though this is swinging back in the right direction. and Sony is
Nature
at
is
least
healing.
doing some due diligence. Yes, nature's healing. Sony is doing some due diligence in restoring these PS3 patches. So good news all around, I would say. Hopefully they can restore all of them, though.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm confident they will. I don't know if that confidence is founded, but it feels like they will. So
yeah, it feels like they're at least trying to get as many as they can back into working order. So yeah, and some really key titles here too, like Third Strike Online Edition's been restored, Soul Calibur 4. Yeah, exactly right, exactly. So still a bit of work to be done here, but I didn't back when we reported on this the first time. I never would have guessed that Sony would have walked back their decision to shutter the PlayStation stores, let alone restore these patches. So yeah, this is some good news.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. I think that it only makes sense if you're restoring the store. I mean, the updates never should have gone, but seeing them back is the right thing. I feel like Sony got enough of a gut check to realize they need to not aggressively screw over people that have supported them for a long time now. So good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So pretty quick news story there, but definitely worth reporting on. But let's go ahead and get that next news story up on screen. And this was posted in our server by Cream Basics. And good old CD Projekt Red, they have weathered the storm. They have released new sales data. This comes from ZHugeEX on Twitter. They've released some key sales data, such that Cyberpunk 2077 has sold 13.7 million copies by the end of 2020, despite the myriad issues it faced at launch. And also, The Witcher 3 had its second best year in history in 2020, and it has now sold over 30 million units overall. That's wild. That number is just, Wild Hunt, I guess, right? I didn't even, no, that's incredible, though. And then there's a bit of news here, too. The next-gen console editions of both Cyberpunk and The Witcher 3 are planned to launch in the second half of 2021. So just some scattershots CD Projekt Red data here. I don't know if this sends the best message, though, that Cyberpunk was such a mess.
Apparently, I forget where I saw the number at, but I did see that apparently only 30,000 people took advantage of the refund.
Right.
That they offered.
Yeah. I mean, here's a key piece of data, and I want to remind people of this. If you were on anything above a base PS4 or a base Xbox One, it was mostly playable. And I know that sounds like like a low bar to clear, but a lot of people will put up with a lot of shit for a game that is at least interesting. I think I mean, Derrick, you're our 15 FPS is okay guy. So I know that there are different,
it's too bad, it's
different levels of tolerance, right? Like I absolutely tolerated. I actually enjoyed. I gave good vibes to Cyberpunk, right? And it probably would have, if it didn't have the issues, I would have given it great vibes. I think that there is when you live on the internet like we do, you hear only the loudest voices, right? You hear the people that are really pissed off. And I think it's easy to forget that, that's not all of those 13 million people. A bunch of those people are way more casual about how they consume media than we are. And they're just like, yeah, it's fine. It crashes sometimes. Who gives a shit? I'll just start the game over.
It's annoying, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I will admit that I got to the point during the review where I was like, oh, the game crashed again. I only had one real point where I was like, God damn, fix your shit. Like, I am having a hard time.
I mean, that's sort of how I felt as I was playing through Sonic Sonic
Forces or
no Boom, Sonic Boom. Sorry, Rise of Derrick. I'm trying to remember. It's the song. Come on, why am I not thinking of it? When I was playing through Sonic Boom, everybody was talking about all the glitches and bugs and stuff like this, and I didn't really encounter that many as I was going through. Now, that said, if you actively try to do those, they're really easy to pull off. But if you're just playing through the game normally, which is what I was attempting to do to try to give that perspective, I mean, it's boring, but it's not heinous.
The thing I noticed when I was playing through The Witcher, I'm sorry, not The Witcher. I love The Witcher. Witcher 3 is great. Can't wait for the next gen version. Honestly, unironically, I can't wait for that. Cyberpunk, I noticed that when I had missions that required me to drive a very long way, the game would invariably crash. So I just learned, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just fast travel. I was trying to avoid it because I'm reviewing, and, so much of the pre-release hype was, this city is so alive, you have to see what all these psychos are doing. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll drive through and maybe something zany will happen and it'll be good footage I got. And eventually I was like, the game just crashes every time I try that. I'll just use the fast travel points. But I think that, it does send, going back to your original point, Ash, it does send a bad message, right? It sends a message that, you can rush a game out to market and you'll probably still be fine.
I mean, you could ride that hype. The problem is their next game. That's usually like the game that comes out is fine. It's the next game that gets hit.
You know what really, I'm just going to be honest here though. You know what really sucks is they're going to be fine with their next game. You know why? Because they're not going to release it on last gen hardware. They're just going to be like, oh, look, we targeted the Xbox Series X this time, and look at how great this runs. And
they have experience now for this type of game.
We're going to send out 100 yellow chairs instead of 75. We'll increase the hype and lower the number of platforms, and everything will balance out.
We'll go really crazy, and we got Keanu Reeves. Now it's time for Alex Winters. Let's get them both in here.
God!
It also, I mean, honestly, it's a pretty damn smart damage mitigation move to take a game that's as beloved as The Witcher 3 and give it a new coat of paint for free. Like that.
If that's a free upgrade, because I have Witcher 3, I have not played it, but I have Witcher 3 on PS4. I got it for cheap and got the complete version. So I'll take advantage of
the
PS5
next gen
upgrade.
update is free, man. And I honestly, if you haven't played at this point, just wait. Right?
Exactly.
I've played it on both.
Right.
I played it on PS4, PC, and Nintendo Switch, and I'm ready to play it again as soon as the next gen update comes out. It's one of my it is an unexpectedly, like, I didn't expect it to be one of my top RPGs of last generation, and it's there. So
I remember we've talked about it, Steve. You really loved The Witcher 3. I don't doesn't really seem to be in my wheelhouse in terms of the subject matter and then kind of the period and the aesthetics, but obviously I'm in the extreme minority because, this game is wildly beloved, and I know you just adore this game.
Oh, yeah. Bring it on.
Well, speaking of adoring a game, it's a shame that we don't have Evernight Studio in our live audience today, because I know they will be jumping up and down for this next news story. So let's go ahead and get that up on screen. And this was posted in our server by Rob R-Man-EXE, and that is that the next Monster Hunter digital event covering Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Stories 2 has been set for April 27th, so next week at 7 a.m. Pacific. Shoot me now. And here's the really sad part of this. The really sad part is I already talked to Brandon C. You're going to react with us, right, man? And I think he's going to be out of town for work. So we're not going to have our resident Monster Hunter super expert on deck during our reaction stream to this, but we are going to react to it nonetheless. So.
Yeah. Brandon, I just want you to know somewhere your rabbits are disappointed in you for this.
Yes,
not us.
They are.
I have to imagine this is probably going to focus more on Monster Hunter Stories 2, and I think that's a little easier for us to get into.
Oh yeah.
That's true. I think as well. Yeah, I think you're right.
Brandon actually messaged me after he published his absolutely stellar Monster Hunter Rise review, and he was like, "Hey, do you need help with Monster Hunter Stories 2?" And I was like, I don't know the answer to that because I'm not sure who's going to try to fight you for it.
Nobody. He can have it.
Oh, nobody. I mean,
when does the Monster Hunter, let's see, comes out in July. Yeah, he has it.
Oh, that's
so
true.
Yeah. Coming out that time.
You hear that,
plus,
Brandon?
like,
you just got a contract, buddy.
I mean, I have interest in Monster Hunter Stories 2 as more of a single-player, story-driven experience, but look, next to a hardcore Monster Hunter fan, I would never try to deny him that opportunity. Our resident Monster Hunter super expert should absolutely take Stories 2. So, Brandon, man, I'm not going to fight you for it. I don't think any of us will.
All right.
Yeah.
We have a three-way fight on who gets Final Fantasy.
Exactly.
Oh no, I will gladly give that one up. I want to play it as a fan.
As I figured, maybe not, because PSO2 is coming out in June as well. So
PSO2.
Not to mention
it all depends with Ratchet and Clank. It really just depends on what the heck comes out.
Yep,
exactly.
That's a question for you, Derrick. Let's answer this one live on air. If you had to choose, right? This is like choosing between your children, Intergrade or Ratchet and Clank. Where are you going?
I hate you. Honestly, Final Fantasy doesn't need any help. Somebody needs to sing the praises of the Ratchet and Clank series. So
integrates mine, and confirmed here on stream right now. Integrates mine. Nice. Yes.
You better hope that they give it to us more than 48 hours early.
I know, right? I was thinking that.
All you'd have to do is
Basola there
play the Yuffie stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
true. I am the only one who's beaten Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII remake on hard mode.
That's true. I did not do that. I didn't have time to go back and replay on hard mode. But
I'm going to talk to our friends at Square Enix because, in all fairness, I know that I talk a lot about the short time frame we had to review that game, but they have been incredibly kind to us since we founded GVG. They have given us all the support we could want and then some. And I am totally going to say, like, hey, all three of us really love Final Fantasy.
Yes, we do.
What are two more codes?
You want to have a discussion about the Yuffie stuff? We're here.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Hell yes.
I mean, to be fair, Integrate is a free upgrade for digital deluxe owners, I think. I mean,
it's a free Yuffie episode intermission is not, but Integrate itself is.
Yes. I might ask for a code for intermission then. I already got Final Fantasy VII Remake digital, so. But
I love how this went from the Monster Hunter digital event to Ratchet and Clank and then Final Fantasy.
We're just not Monster Hunter people.
But we will.
I do not want to take it away, though. Stories 2 does look fantastic and probably a good entry point for a lot of people. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of DLC or new content they have for Rise.
Agreed. I am very interested to see where Rise goes. I'm still waiting after we get through our embargoed content. I'm going to do like a Monster Hunter training session with Brandon, and then he and I are going to discuss from our differing perspectives how we feel about the game. We already know how Brandon feels, but we're going to talk about whether it's more newcomer friendly, because I've always been someone who's been on the periphery of the fandom trying to find a way in and just haven't.
That's kind of me as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of how you feel about things, Steve, we have a second news story today that is decidedly anchored right around you, man. So let's go ahead and get that up on screen. And now we normally, first of all, this was also posted in our server by Rockman.EXE, and we don't normally report on announcements of an announcement, so normally we might have just skipped this, but because this countdown website is Judgment's countdown website and is teasing a May 7th announcement, Steve, we know how much you love Judgment. Obviously, you just review the next-gen version of Judgment here on the channel. It's teasing something, and I think you're the best, one of the best positioned to tell us what you think it might be.
Oh, it's Judgment 2.
I think they already talked about a Judgment 2. This is absolutely.
That's what I figured it was, but I wanted to throw it to you first. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Judgment 2 is absolutely getting a proper reveal, and I cannot wait because Judgment is like the darker side of the Yakuza series. Like it still has some of the crazy, wacky humor, but the story just goes places, man. I mean, you're talking about Judgment 1 was centered around figuring out who the fuck was gouging people's eyes out all over town. Like that is a really messed up, like a very dark place to go for this. Like Yakuza deals with murder and stuff, but it's always like, bang, you got shot, and I feel bad about it because I'm a very honorable bad guy. Like, it's just like they're good guys that aren't good guys, whereas Judgment, the bad guys are just real bad, messed up people. Like, Yagami early on in the game just gets the ever-loving piss kicked out of him by a bunch of Yakuza, and he's just, like, left bleeding all over the place. Like, there's so many scenarios where, you, as the main character, you just get brutalized repeatedly, and I mean, you find dead people in your office and stuff. Like, it is just wild where Judgment goes.
I cannot wait to start playing through this series.
Dude, it's so good. It is so good. I mean, Judgment 1 doesn't end on a cliffhanger. It doesn't, it wraps up really neatly. I think Sega or RGG Studio was just like, we don't know if this is going to fly, so let's just make sure it's tied up real nice.
Aren't they usually pretty good about having complete stories, though?
That's a good question. I have not played a ton of Yakuza. Like, my vibe with Yakuza is like get to 98% completion and then for whatever reason never finish never cross the finishing line, which is something I hate when people do. But with Yakuza games, I do it all the time.
Apparently, Audoodle says 7 features a tease for Judgment.
Does it?
Oh, does it? I didn't know that. Well, I mean, I wouldn't know that. I haven't finished it, but
does it feature a tease for Judgment 2 or Judgment 1?
I don't know.
That's interesting though. Oh, they set up a villain at the end of 7. So that is definitely
setting up for 8 or maybe Judgment 2. Who knows?
Yeah,
oh, geez.
exactly.
I feel like I'm wading into dangerous Yakuza Like a Dragon spoiler territory here. I haven't finished the game.
I haven't finished any of them. I mean, between the 7 Yakuza games and now Judgment and possibly Judgment 2, that's 9 games.
XQ Jonah says each one is a complete story, but history is heavily referenced throughout, which is
a good way to do it.
Yeah. Right. Oh, I believe it's a character from Judgment who's in 7 as an optional boss, but that Judgment character is not the 8 villain. Man, that's a lot that I want to find out. I have a
There's a lot here.
I'm going to assume, and don't tell me if I'm right. Please do not tell me if I'm right. I'm going to assume that it's Kyohei Hamura in 7 as an optional boss, because he would definitely fit the role. He's a Yakuza. He's an asshole. he would definitely like be.
Is he of that Lu Bu caliber? Because I remember as a kid playing Dynasty Warriors 2, and like they're saying, "Stay away from Lu Bu. He's a problem." It's like, oh, he can't be that hard, and then just 2 hits dead.
Well, the thing that's funny is that Hamura is presented as a major badass in Judgment, and you do get to fight him. And I remember thinking like, he's not that special. He's not super great. Like, he's not a wuss, but he's not super great. He'd make like a good mid-tier boss for another Yakuza game. Because I mean, the thing is, in Judgment, the family that you are wrapped up with, the Matsugane family, is like a nothing family. It's like 8 guys. Like, so they're not like a big deal, they're not making waves. So it would be kind of funny. I would love to see Ichiban kick Hamura's ass. That would be fun. So that gives me more reason to go back into 7 and find him. I've had some, I think what took away my steam from Yakuza 7 is that, how Sony does that thing where you can watch other people's clips? Mm-hmm. Like the thumbnail for a clip on PSN had an incredibly massive spoiler for me in it.
I think I have that turned off because why would I want to do that?
Well, now they offer like granular spoiler controls, but yeah, wasn't there for me before. Son of a bitch. God. But anyway,
that
Judgment 2.
I am
super hype.
I know.
I will be up at 7 to watch this, and if it's a big deal, I'll do like a news update on it, because we're not going to live stream a website countdown, but I will absolutely be there at 7 to find out what it is. I might still be visiting my mom, so you might get a feverish upload from me from my mom's house, which would be really interesting.
It kind of fits in.
Like John's Jigglypuff fan.
Just hi, Mom.
Yeah, hi, Mom.
I still wish I had time to go back and play Judgment, because I played a little bit of it alongside you, Steve, after our E3 interview on it that year, and I just didn't have time to stick with it. But I know how much you love it, and I was certainly into it based on what I played. And now, of course, we're already staring down the existence of a sequel. So I don't know when I'll get a chance to play this, if ever. But I certainly, and now knowing also, I didn't realize that there is a Judgment character cameo in Yakuza Like a Dragon. I wouldn't have realized that. I've also been trying to go out of my way to avoid spoilers for Yakuza 7. But I really wish I could just absorb the gameplay experience of this entire series, all the Yakuzas and Judgment, just so I could appreciate all the fan service and all the little nods and references in each game, but I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, agreed. I would love to be able to, I mean, that's a huge commitment, right? I'm thinking one of the things that I want to do, and I hope that we're able to make it happen, is to kind of have a holiday break where we're able to catch up before we start talking about Game of the Year stuff, right? And I would, during that time, I really want to, because I don't have any other time during the year where I can sit down with like an 80-hour RPG and just bust it out, which I'm hoping that we'll be able to build a time frame like that in at some point. Because typically for me, like the end of the year is a quiet time, right? Like
in December, typically, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the game news cycle just stops, thank God, and usually other commitments like work and things like that slow down, and the kids are home, so there's no school, and I'm like, yeah, this is the time. Every year I tell myself I'm gonna do that, and then it's like, hey, here's a million videos to make. Make those for. I mean, it didn't help that even though, and to be fair, we were just starting GVG, but we also had 2 next-gen console launches. So,
yeah, there's a bit more to cover.
Just a little.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next story, which I like to call in today in what the hell do they think was going to happen? So let's go ahead and get that up on screen. And just 1 month after opening to the public, Super Nintendo World and Universal Studios Japan, period, are already closing because of a surge in COVID cases in Osaka Prefecture. What the hell did they think was going to happen when they pushed the opening that soon? I mean, I think even when we reported on the fact that Super Nintendo World was opening, we were all like, is this really the best idea? Aren't they just going to have to close again, like with COVID? And it seems as though, they opened too soon. Now they're shutting back down after just a month of being open, and there's no reopening date yet. Basically, until the request, they're going to open it when the request has been lifted. But until then, buy Super Nintendo World and buy Universal Studios Osaka. I don't have too much else to say other than, no shit, they had to close it down.
I mean, there really isn't too much else to say because this is all rather expected. Honestly, the big surprise is with how well America's been rolling out the whole vaccine thing. It's kind of weird to me that other countries aren't able to do that as well. And,
for once we're actually handling something COVID related correctly. Yeah.
So decently. But they're already, according to this, they're declaring a state of emergency in Tokyo, Osaka, Hyogo, and Kyoto. So it's geez.
Yeah, it's not just Osaka Prefecture. Definitely not.
Yeah, I came upon this story in a very weird way today. One of our audience members or fans, I feel weird saying we have fans, but a member of the GV gang, if you will, tweeted at all of us that tickets to Japan were $200. And I thought to myself, hot damn, that is a really, really great deal. I'm going to go book it right now. And I thought better of it for a minute. I was like, wait. I'm not fully vaccinated. And granted, these tickets are for next March. But I had pause because I remembered that Japan has a travel ban in place, right? Americans aren't allowed in Japan, along with 151 other countries. Pokemon joke goes here. But I decided to reach out to my friend Alex Anziel, who lives in Japan and recently wrote a book on Resident Evil, and ask him, hey, is this a good idea? Should I book it? Do you think by March that I would be able to go to Japan and that the country would be open to tourists? And he was just like, man, I don't know. He's like, I would give it a 50-50 shot. He's like, I'm not even sure when the vaccine's going to roll out here. He was talking about
they haven't rolled out the vaccine.
Well, he was saying that it's not widely available. That and that odds are that it will not be widely available until next February. And I was like, God, March seems a little too soon now.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know that I want to be in a 10% vaccinated country.
And of course, anybody who's been to Japan knows how crowded the foot traffic is. I mean, especially on the subways. And I mean, you're just in such close proximity to people. It makes me sad to talk about it in this context just because I can't wait to go back to Japan. I've been saying that. I want to go back so badly. My wife and I had planned to go back for, I don't even know what number that trip would be for us in April of last year. But that was, of course, right after the pandemic hit in full force. So we haven't been back. And I was, assuming that maybe by next year we'd be able to travel mostly freely again. But it's starting to look like maybe not.
Thing.
Yeah, it might be.
I am hopeful. I am hopeful. I read some of Japan's countermeasures or COVID countermeasures, and they are terrible. Just in case you're wondering. They were saying that
that's a shame.
That if you come in from a foreign country, they politely ask that you not use public transit for 2 weeks, but they're not checking.
Politely ask.
I'm just like, I don't know, man. I need to see your cases go down. So I canceled the idea of taking that trip, but I agree. What did they think was going to happen if the country is still in the throes of the pandemic? Open in a fucking theme park. I mean, I have had some pretty bad ideas, but that is
somehow. Have we heard about? Because I know Disney opened up as well in Florida and California to limited capacity. I guess they're still open.
I have not heard what's going on over there. I thought about going, but my family, we're still not fully vaccinated. I get my second dose this weekend, and my wife gets hers so I have Sunday.
Nice.
And she has hers tomorrow. So, maybe we'll just both be incapacitated for a little while. But I'm going to take all the tips, drink a lot of water,
Yes, drink a lot of water.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful we'll be fine. But, we'll be fine, but I'm hopeful that we won't experience like heavy, like I've heard some people, feel pretty shitty for a few hours or whatever, but
I did for like a couple hours after my second vaccine, but it was not, it could have been worse. And I think drinking as much water as I did definitely helped. So definitely do that. And that reminds me, actually, today, right now, I'm at my 2-week period after my second vaccination. So I should be fully inoculated, which is kind of cool to think about.
So basically Ash is saying he's just going to go outside with a straw and drink from puddles, lick poles, do everything he's missed.
You caught me. It's my Friday night plans. You lay them bare for all to hear on the internet. Yeah.
I'm going to lick everyone's meal at every restaurant I see.
Oh God. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next news story, which is just a fun, soft news story. Good news. It's just fun. Let's go ahead and throw that up there.
I definitely didn't load a graphic for this one. Go for it.
Oh, that's okay. No worries. Then this was posted in our server by Eastman23, and that is that Civilization 6 has gotten a new patch that, among other things, includes the most important update of all. It allows you to pet your dog, or allows your unit to pet their dog.
Yeah,
and
the scout.
Yeah, which... I mean, oh, wow, I didn't think about it like that, Steve. But yeah, okay. Well, anyway,
at least you can now pet the dog with your unit.
What an absolute unit.
Jeez. Okay, so you can now pet the dogs in Civ 6. That's all I was trying to say. Jesus. Oh, man. But yeah, I mean,
it's
any game...
touch.
It is. Any game in which you can pet the dog, of course, is objectively better than any game in which you cannot pet the dog. And so I love that this has kind of taken on a life of its own, right? That this has kind of become a thing where certain games are, like, can you pet the dog? It's a thing. And then some games will be updated so that you can, yes, pet the dog. And it's like seen as a feature that is missing if you can't. I like that it's kind of taken on a life of its own, mimetically, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they have that whole Twitter account now. And I think that's how I think it kind of highlighted like how much, you can't do that usually. And I think it was really highlighted when everybody was like, there's so many good dogs in Breath of the Wild. We can't pet any of them. What the hell?
Yeah.
That seems like where it really took off.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Quick, before you get to the last piece of news, because I have been sitting on this piece of breaking news by mistake for quite some time now.
How dare you?
I know. I feel bad, but I've also seen the person I'm about to talk about in the audience tonight. Sakuragi updated their pledge from... looks like $10 up to $25, joining the EP squad.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Aboard,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your support. We're getting close to the credits, so I wanted to make sure we had that in there.
Yeah.
Your name will be read in tonight's credits.
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure I went ahead and got that in the spread here. Yeah, cool. Man. All right, nice.
I love Adam Davis alluding to the post show already. I am here for chili and cheese or the Nintendo training. Those are both valid reasons to be here for some reason.
Sakuragi, thank you again so much. And just as a quick tease, this was the right day to join the EP tier because someone in the chat, I don't want to give it away, but someone in the chat made a really fun suggestion on something I should do when reading out the EP names today. So you got in just under the bar for that. So look forward to that.
Oh, boy.
Right? And we are almost there. So let's go ahead and move on to our last news story, which is something I'm pretty excited about.
And
that is that this was also, of course, posted in our server by our resident fellow Mega Man superfan 112. And that is that the Rockman.EXE Sound Box, which was originally released physically in 2016, has suddenly appeared digitally on YouTube, Spotify, or YouTube in every territory, and then on Spotify and iTunes in Japan, digitally free official uploads. And that could, of course, not only is it exciting to have Mega Man Battle Network music, officially available to stream free, but that could point to a potential upcoming Battle Network Legacy Collection announcement, maybe. Of course, nothing official on that front yet, but the fact that they just suddenly made the Rockman.EXE Sound Box available on these services is interesting. And that's not the only thing they've actually made available. They also uploaded the Capcom Sound Team band Cat Tunes' first mini album, One. which it can also be listened to or streamed for free officially on YouTube in every territory. And so basically, members of Capcom's sound team back in 2020, they formed a band called Captoon. And this is their first mini album, and it includes 3 to 4 covers of various Mega Man tracks from Battle Network 1, Mega Man 04, and of course, Mega Man 2 being Dr. Wily Stage 1, the one everybody loves. So at worst, this is cool. We got new Mega Man music on streaming services. At best, though, the Battle Network portion of this story could point to an incoming event, at some point, Legacy Collection announcement.
I hope for your sake, yes.
I hope for my sake, too.
I honestly hope so, too. I really like the Battle Network games, and I kind of fell off of them early, like midway through their life cycle, I guess, when they started going the more Pokemon route and having 2 matching games. Or is that Battle Network?
No, they did. No, that's Battle Network.
I
think the third game they started doing that.
Yeah, I didn't really love that. I just wanted my Battle Network games to be a self-contained, no link cable required adventure. But
it does make me curious what they're going to do for those dual versions when it comes to if a collection actually does happen.
Yeah, because there was functionality left out of various Battle Network games that just ended up being Japan exclusive. Like some of the there was like various Boktai crossover functionality. I think one of those things made it over to the West, if I remember correctly, but not all of them. And there's just there's so much Japanese exclusive content that they could restore potentially for a collection. If they're even working on a collection. It is worth noting that there are no new tracks in here that would be from anything we don't know about. And that was the case with the recent Mega Man-X soundtrack release, which included all the music that they used in the X Legacy collections. Same thing for Zero and ZX. So this may not be an indicator of an upcoming Legacy collection, but it could be. And I still would be surprised if they didn't do one. It would just be really weird if they didn't, especially because Battle Network is one of the most successful Mega Man subseries of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense to have Battle Network come out before Legends, as much as I want Legends, but
Battle Network makes sense first for sure. Yeah. Michael McCaw clarifies that Battle Network 4 and 5 kept the Boktai stuff. 6 lost most of it due to Boktai 3 not coming out here. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, it's been quite a while since I played all 6 games plus the spin-offs. And that is one thing that's interesting. The Rockman.EXE Sound Box, or everything it does include, and it includes some deep cuts, like not only the soundtracks for all 6 main games, but also 4.5, as well as the Wonder Swan exclusive N1 Battle, and I believe the Battle Chip Challenge spinoff. It doesn't include the soundtrack for Network Transmission on the GameCube. And as weird a game as that
really
was...
weird.
Yeah, it was a weird game, but it had a banging soundtrack, and the game itself was pretty cool too, I thought. But yeah, it's kind of a weird
only game in the Battle Network series that I actually have. It's like, it plays like traditional Mega Man. I'll pick that up and maybe play later. So I have it. I just haven't played it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really good.
Hey, Thomas Nerds Out says, "Hey, my first live showing." Well, I don't recognize your name, man. So thank you for joining us. We're glad you could make it, and you're joining us just in time for our spicy post show. But yeah, so I think hopefully this does point to an incoming Battle Network Legacy collection. But if not, we've got a new official way to stream Battle Network music, as well as that Captoon 1 mini album in all territories, which is cool either way. So with that said, that pretty much is the end of our news for today. But of course, before we sign off, we have to give a major thank you to all of our patrons at the producer tier and above for helping to make this show happen, because without you, frankly, it would not be happening. So thank you a million times from the bottom of our hearts for supporting us and helping us bring this show to you. As well, of course, we owe an especially massive gargantuan thank you to our patrons at the executive producer tier and above. Now, that thing I was teasing before, at the beginning of the show, Jaden Buck said whoever reads the EPs tonight should do it like the Smash Brothers announcer. So I figured, you know what, let's just throw caution to the wind. I will try to do my best Xander Mobus impression and give these EPs, give our beloved EPs something a little special today. So here we go. I'm sorry if I butcher anybody with my Xander Mobus impression, but let's go. Our fine, wonderful, awesome EPs include Jared Edinger, Brandon Bovia, Rob R-Man-X, Etiono Ben, Dan and Twistle, Dennis J, Z Patty, Hyrule Hermit, Sky Blue Flames, Adam O'Sullivan, It's ATM, Octopuppet, Richard Herrera, Michael Phone, Floating Mew, Echo Carroll, Christopher, The D-Pad, Vesmio, Waffle King, Nick Waterman, Jesse, aka Kitty Kong Facts, Angel Martinez, Vedran Hotik, Makalau, John, Joshua Hunter, Evernight Studio, Benny Yao, Alessia, Azran127, Kinrule09, Jake Pelka, Geller, Joseph Rutkin, Titus Malvolio, Charlie Bird, Lucky Wonderfish, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, Douglas Chomix, Andrew Medeiros, Orem M, Patrick Harrison, Becca, Rocks the Cat, Fizzywig Hoyd, Flaming Highwayman, Sean Garrett, The Legend of Groose, Eddie B, Kai Ed, Kit Fisto, West Egg, Master Links, Sean Davis, Deaneth, Jackson Jordan, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Ashish Joshi, Goron Amber, Straight Lace, Hoobie, Wolfex Blake and Moon Macarons, Kane, Captain Finlandia, 60 minutes and 60 seconds, The Game Orb, Dano the Artist, Ravelox, Synchro Lord, Brainchild, Rosa Pardo Bowling.
Hi, Mom!
Nice.
Did I do it right?
Kotar Peck, Scuff 196, Sko Kid Tiger, AJB Cool, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Phantom Project, Wheezy Penguin, Anthony Wilson Jr., and our latest, newest, most wonderful EP, Sakuragi. Thank you so much, everybody, for all of your incredible support.
Bravo.
That was well
Thank
done.
you.
Seriously.
Thank you very much. Well, the rest I'll do in my own voice. Remember, of course, that you too can become a patron over at patreon.com/gbgaming, where you can join our live audience tier for as little as $5 a month, and like our fellow patrons here today, interact with us and our special guests when they're here throughout the show. And in fact, keep an eye on our Patreon over the next few days, because we're about to introduce a bunch of changes, new tier perks, like new perks at every tier. We're getting rid of a couple of tiers. We're updating some. We're adding a new one. So there's a lot of good stuff coming to the GVG Patreon. A lot of changes. So make sure to check that out. But even if you don't, and you only support us here on YouTube and drop a like and subscribe, we love you either way. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week on Monday for our next episode of TNT. Until then, good night and good vibes, everybody.
Later.
Hi, everyone.